Hey,
It's the Alberts.
Welcome back to the basics.
Back to the basics.
Welcome to Back to the Basics. I'm telling you, we are so thrilled to have you with us on tonight. We believe we have another blessed episode for you where we expecting a lot of gems to be dropped tonight. So make sure you go ahead and share it with your friends, share it with anybody you can that you think that will be blessed by this program. We look forward to being able just to bless you on tonight. And my wife, she's going to begin to explain to you about this beautiful topic we have for tonight.
Yes. Thank you again for joining us. And on tonight, we have some beautiful couples that have decided to drop some nuggets with us tonight. And our topic is keeping a sound marriage. So first, we're going to start with the Williams. We're going to let them introduce themselves and tell us about themselves.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here with you all. Hopefully, everyone could hear as well. And we're joining you tonight from Indianapolis, Indiana. So we're a little far away from home for me, but I'm just glad to be here with you all today. My name's Tony Williams. Some of you know me. I haven't been around for a while, but some of you know me. This is my beautiful wife, Crystal Williams here. So I want to introduce my wife and give you a little more background of her first. So this is my wife, Crystal. She was born and raised here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Attended school here. She went to Indiana University and did her degree in psychology, and then went on to Duke University to do her law degree there at Duke. So she's kind of Carolina-ish. Her time there in Durham at Duke. And at the end of her stint in Duke is when her and I met. And she came back here, so she's a practicing attorney here. She works for Eli Lilly and Company, which is a Fortune 500 pharmaceutical brand there. And she's their assistant general counsel there with Eli Lilly. But more importantly, she's a woman of God. And she is my rock. She is my right hand. She is a wonderful mother to her children, our three children, AJ, Antonio Jr., Anderson, and our little baby girl, Ava. And she's very active in the community. And she just don't know what we would do without her. And she's a spiritual leader, not just to our family, but also to her extended family as well. So that's my beautiful wife, Crystal.
And if I could just say a few words just about Tony. So a few of you know him already. He's from Swansea, South Carolina. He went to South Carolina State. He just a couple years ago got inducted into the South Carolina State Hall of Fame. He was the first Black person to get a PhD from the School of Public Health at Indiana University. That's where I met him. I was getting my law degree. He was getting his PhD. He graduated. He was the youngest professor ever hired in Indiana University's history. He then went on and got tenured, first Black person to get tenured in the School of Public Health as well. In his department of kinesiology, he's a superstar when it comes to what he does for a living. God really has his hands on him and is really just birthing, I think, just a great, great ministry through him, through health and fitness. And he heads our household. He is a man of God. God is the center of our family and our marriage. He is my best friend and my confidant. And I just love him so much. And I'm just so grateful to be here with you all. And that's a little bit about us.
All right. Well, thank you, Williams. And y'all have shared some things that we talked about, right? The riches and on Back to the Basics. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the Dibbles. And we're going to ask them to introduce themselves.
Hello, we are the Dibbles. My name is Eric. This is my little wife, Cindy. She is the mother of my two girls, Cindo and Sydney. And of course, the names are familiar to hers because I don't know who named them. Anyway, she's active in the community, active in the church. She's well known around the school district, lecturing in District 4, her own home care facility. She does very well with those kids. And she's very faithful in all that she does, and I thank God for her every day.
And this is my husband, Eric. I call him Big Papa. Big Papa. Big Papa is a man of God. I love him for all that he does. He's a hard-working man. He loves the Lord and he loves to work. He's a professional truck driver, and we just for him being a provider and everything that we need. And I call him my Big Papa. The girls call him their dad because he spoils them and get them whatever they want. What I don't give them, he'll give them. So that was in one of the questions. Right there, right there. And I hope our Wi-Fi works right, because once again, we're in the country, so you know how the Wi-Fi works. But I hope we get through. So if anything go out on the night, maybe that's the Lord's doing. We'll see about it.
All right. Okay, well, I hope it stay intact. And then we have a familiar couple, which is the Richardsons, that are always on the show. How you doing? You want to say anything before we move on, Richardsons? You do? We thank for them for being faithful. Did y'all hear me? Are y'all Wi-Fi good too? Okay. Yeah. I know couples, people have things to do, and we want to thank y'all tonight or this afternoon for taking your time out to be with us. To think is important enough to share some of your nuggets and your wisdom with us on marriage. And the topic for tonight is keeping a sound marriage. And I think we did a pretty good job. I mean, just listen to the things that y'all have discussed or said about yourselves, and you still sound marriage and look like you still in love with each other. I think this is something that's going to help people. Sometimes people say, "Well, you only married or stay together because you're poor and don't have nothing," but that's not true all the time. It's just fundamental traditional marriage. And on tonight, we're going to talk about. First of all, we want to just run over, and this is just traditional, our wedding vows. We're just going to rekindle ourselves with the wedding vows, and we'll have Darryll to not marry us again, but he'll just read them.
Okay, so that everybody would remember the normal vows that are stated before witnesses. I won't say my name. Take thee to be my wedded wife, husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part, according to God's holy ordinance. And thereto I pledge thee my faith.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of us, when we got married, we didn't hear none of the preacher said. We just was happy. We just was saying, "I do" or "I will." I mean, I think I don't know. If you wasn't nervous, if you could contain yourself, maybe you did hear most of that. But I think you went over before you got married, so there's no excuse for that. But we just thought that would be an icebreaker tonight. Because a lot of people, I think when you take that seriously, then all the other little hiccups won't be nothing but small hiccups in your marriage. If you remember what you said that you was gonna, what you vowed to. Some people want to take it out now, but whether you write your own vows or whether you read the traditional ones, you still have to love your husband, and husbands still have to love their wives. So our first question on tonight is, how do I enjoy my life inside of my marriage? So we're going to take the Richardsons first. How do I enjoy my life inside of my marriage?
With those vows in thought as you talk about it.
Well,
With those vows being in thought.
you want to say something, or you want me
I'm
to
gonna let
say
you
something?
start.
Well, I don't know if that's a fair question to us, but I'll take it anyway.
Okay,
Reason
well, you
being,
know what?
let me tell you why. I'll tell
Okay.
you why. And Janice, you're absolutely right. People start out in marriage, and you got to think of it. No matter what it takes, most people will go into or through that specific what's deemed to be the best thing that ever happened to them in their lives. It's impossible to think a person comes to that altar thinking about the negative part of those vows. They're
Right.
not thinking about the worst. They're not thinking about the poor. They're not thinking about the sickness. They're thinking about all the positive things. And in most cases, when you actually get into marriage, the negative things are usually caused in some instances by the person you're standing at the altar with. And that's why people fall out. That's why I'm thinking that they're in there. So whether you create your own vows or not, that is probably the basis of what gets people through a marriage. And the reason why I said it's a bit unfair is because at this point, for the sake of, in terms of our marriage, for the sake of what's the statistics state, we're way beyond that because we got almost 30 years together. So we have the opportunity to look back and see the for better, the worse, the richer and the poorer, and the sickness and health, and we're still together. And I still love her. In fact, I love her more now than I actually did when I first married her because there's a lot more I know about her now. So I would say what has gotten us to this point from those points have been what we've kind of have discussed many times over this podcast, and that is realizing that we did love each other enough, even when we didn't know what was causing the worst, even when we didn't know why we were so poor at the time. And I would imagine poor could be, can be characterized in so many ways, not just money, and even through the sickness parts. There's enough love there to say that even though I don't understand this, I am willing to still try to figure it out with this person. I really am making the effort and want to make the effort that we figure this thing out. And we didn't realize that until now, looking back, that's what means the most to us, that we, were able to fight through those tough times. And we didn't know how the next day was going to be, but something caused us to still continue to come through the same door. So I would say, just having enough love to see what the other side of this being in the worst part of this would be. Because typically that's when people would check out. I mean, that's
Okay.
kind of our take on it.
All right. All right. Anybody else have a take on that before we get to enjoying life? Because although we are one, and for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, we're one, but we are both individuals. How do we juggle life with just, and I look at it this way. A lot of times I think you have to, like the Richardson says, you have to be mindful. I can't, if my husband is the sole provider or he's working, we're going to use different instances. I can't let him work all day, and as soon as he come home, I'm hitting the door and he keeping the kids because I want my life too. It's like you have to figure out what works for you. So that's what I wanted to know. Like, my little niche is I go to New York every year without him, so he already knows that I'm gonna get together with the girls and we're gonna do a girls trip. So I mean, people say, well, that's just one thing, but that's what I do. Every time I would just be with him. But how can we enjoy life and still be married and stay married and keep our marriage intact without, dividing our homes? Do you go ahead?
Well, I want to ask how long have you all been married? Can you hear me?
You talking to us? You broke
Yes.
up there for a minute. Yeah, so we're going
Okay.
on 12 years. We're going on 12 years here in August.
Okay, 12 years of marriage. You don't have to discuss it, but just thinking about those vows and how they impact the 12 years of marriage. along with you enjoying yourself, because you both, as you spoke earlier, you both have very demanding careers.
Mm-hmm.
So with those vows, along with enjoying yourself, kind of help us out about how do you all enjoy your life inside your marriage, along with the fact that such demanding careers as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question for us, and it's something that took some time to think about. And I think, and if you talk about those vows and you discuss, especially what people always get hung up, the for better or worse, and sometimes people at the office they kind of gasp, man, what you mean for worse, right? And so, but for better and worse, and I just thank the Lord and I praise the Lord that my worst was before I was at that altar, before these 12 years. So I experienced the worst, and I thank God that, you know, with my wife, I've experienced it better, right? And so, and again, a long marriage ahead of us, but you know, my life is a lot better now than it was before her. And so I just thank the Lord for her being that type of blessing to me, and you know, enjoying my life within it. You know, one thing, whether it's success in a marriage or success in a career, people always talk about that work-life balance, and I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe more so in interlacing work and life, right? And so marrying those things together. And so usually when I tell young people, especially young folks, you know, from where I'm from, like Swanson and others, and people say, you know, Tony, I want to be this when I grow up. I want to be that when I grow up. I want to do this. And I always say, don't think about what you want to be when you grow up. Think about how you want your life to be when you grow up, because you'll never get true fulfillment out of a career. You know, if the Lord takes me home today, they're going to put somebody else in my office. They're going to keep those classes are going to be taught. That research is going to get done. But my wife and my children are the ones that are going to be weeping. They're the ones that are going to have to endure that without a father. So it's important for me to make sure that my life is built around that. And I just thank God for, you know, giving me that type of spirit where, you know, my wife oftentimes asks me, like, you know, you come home from work sometimes and you could have a hard day and no one necessarily knows it, because sometimes you don't even want to talk about work. Because for me, man, that work is to provide a living for my family. Yes, there are things that are going to happen that's going to maybe annoy me or get me right. But once I get in that door and I see my wife and my kids, that is my true life. So I would encourage, especially young couples, to make sure going into the marriage, they have a clear understanding of themselves and what they want out of a life, not just, enamored about what they do for a living or what someone else does for a living or how much money you're going to bring in together, but what type of life do you want to have and what type of lifestyle do you want to have? And fortunate enough, even though my wife is a lawyer by day, she ain't trying to be one at night. So when she gets home, even though we're both have these two careers and demanding careers, you know, there's no struggle for dominance or power or anything in the home. There's no struggle there, because we have a clear understanding based on biblical principles of how we should love one another and also how we should do things in our home. And so that's kind of how there's really got to be a balance, because my wife and my kids, that is my life. And luckily for me, you know, as Ms. Albert is saying, you know, she has a trip she likes to take with the girls and stuff. Me, myself, I have a couple friends I talk to. I have a couple people that I deal with. And luckily for me, those men are also married. And so I'm not the type of guy that wants to go hang out with the boys. I'm not the type of guy that really wants to be and go out. I need to go out to a ball game. If I watch a ball game tonight, I want to watch it with her. Or if I go out, I don't want to compete for my time. I'm taking her with me. You know, usually on all of my work trips, if I go overseas or go anywhere, she goes with me. And literally, I'll turn down invitations to leave if she can't go with me. I'll say, hey, I got a trip over here to California. Does it work with your schedule? If it doesn't work with her schedule, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think I'm be able to make that one. I'm at that point in my career now, because if I don't travel with her, I'm the type of person, I'll just stay in my hotel, give me a sandwich, and I'll never see the sights and do that thing. So she actually helps me live my best life, I think. So, you know, I don't have to really balance too much.
Okay. Miss Williams, you're smiling, got you smiling. Would you like to add anything?
I think for me, going back to your question of kind of we got a lot that we're balancing with the kids, and we got those three little ones in the careers. For me, it always comes down to I don't really know what else God put me on this earth for, but I know He put me here to be His wife and those children's mother. And that's how I prioritize my life. Even my career, I am doing it in order to provide life for my kids and for my family. And so, and actually, we had this conversation very early in my career where, whenever I'm going through, something where I'm feeling torn or whatnot, he says, always go with the option that it puts the family first, because God will take care of the rest. And that's truly what I do. And I do that same thing when it comes to friends, when it comes to our extended family. It's everything of, okay, here's the priority. So I'm with him. I think it was a tough question for me to answer, because I feel like my life is my family's life. And I find joy in that. If anything, I am trying to figure out how to be present in the moment with my children, with my husband, so that, you know what I mean? Like, that's more so what my mental exercise is. How do I clear out everything else so that I can be present and enjoy them? And that gives me fulfillment.
But actually, that wasn't, I mean, you think it was a tough question, but it's just what it is to you. That question is what it is to you. And the Darrylls, we're going to chime you in here since that Wi-Fi working right about that. But before we lose y'all again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, mute.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I'm enjoying my life inside of my marriages. And, I look at that vow when it says to have and to hold. And I look at, I asked to have her in front of all those cloud of witnesses and to hold. And, I'm hold steady to my vows, I hold faithful to my word, not only to her as my wife, but to my children as well. And I always growing up in a single parent home, I always wanted to be able to have it where my kids would not hardly go through the things that I went through, put it like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to be that father figure for them in the way that a father should be. You know how the word said about train up a child when they go to when they get old and when not depart from it. But I realized there were some things that when they was growing up, when they got older, I said I had two girls. And I said, I'm not going to no cheerleader practice. I'm not doing it. I didn't have no boys to go to baseball games or basketball games or so on. But I realized as they got older and all I do was work on the truck and come home and lounge. And that's it. And they be going to games and everything, leave me home by myself. There's something clicked. I said, you know what? Despite of the cheerleading, despite of the band, I must attend to show that support to them at all times, regardless of what they do in the school system. So I had to balance my time, even though be tired coming off of the truck driving 12, 14 hours. I still had to muster up, shower up, suit up again, and go and watch a game for about an hour or two. So, but I'm learning to enjoy that because I realized when I took my vows that I was no longer I. It was all about the family then. Even before my kids came along, my mother used to always tell me, boy, you work so hard like you got a wife and kids already. Well, I had already envisioned this one day, that I would have a wife and kids one day, and this what would be required of me to be a hard-working man from the beginning, not allow her to push me into what I need to be, but God have equipped me to be what I should be before she even came into my life.
Amen.
So I thank God for that, to be able to balance my time and still have pleasure in doing it. I walk in places now, basketball games, or I saw one at the grocery store, and one little girl says, "Do you have a daughter named Sindel?" I said, "Yes." She said, "She looks just like you." But I was amazed by that because how the resemblance not only she and I had with each other, but this student or this friend of hers were able to acknowledge that I see Sindel in you. So I realized as I go through this life and my day-to-day basis, work, school, church, I realized that I'm representing not only me, but I represent my wife and my children as well. So I got to be careful in what I do inside and outside of this house.
Right. Right. Thank you. You got something you want to say, Miss Dibbles?
Well, with the
On
part
that
about
topic.
I'm like the enjoying my life inside my marriage.
Mhm.
Of course, I do do like trips sometimes with my friends, and it's fine because we have that type of relationship, you know. So it's all with what your spouse, you know, if your spouse,
Mhm.
you know, don't want you to go on that trip, then you shouldn't go on that trip.
Mhm.
But so you have to just work out what works for you and your home, because everyone home is different. But as for us,
Mhm.
I have those times where I go on my trips and I leave him home. But I'm definitely calling him or he's calling me, and vice versa. Sometimes he doesn't really do trips. Now sometimes he'll do trips like we doing with the sports, and he'll go with the girls if I can't go. So they'll be that's like their me time. But I think that's going into the next question about maintaining the spouse and the family. So I want to hold that for that.
Right.
But yes, me too. I
Okay.
do have my little trips that I go on, and we work it out. The Lord, we work it out.
Right. And I think we're in consensus, and I'm glad that we're having this discussion because, you know, sometimes we look at, when I say we're talking about people, you know, we look at the television and we see all this fancy stuff, and a lot of times that's all people want to do is forget about their house, their other person, their responsibilities, or your children, and you want to go, what about me? What about me? And when you get married, you're one, and you decided to take this, and it's so much. I don't know, when you're married and truly want to be married, it is beautiful to just sit home and be with your husband. Like the women said that he goes with her to games. I go with my husband to games. I mean, it's just like you still can enjoy your life being together with each other. Sometimes I think that's the part where people do look at other people and say, well, I'm missing out on this, and I can't enjoy this, or I can't enjoy that. But marriage is just enjoyable in itself, and you just have a person to enjoy it. So we're gonna move on to our next question. Is how to and I think, well, and it's just how you guys from your spouse. And I think I say that because sometimes you don't even know you have Google eyes, because I got a lot of people that talks to me and say, from watching this broadcast, they'll go, why are you always looking up in Darryl's face, you know, just smiling? I love him. It's not necessarily sometimes of what the things that people can do materialistic for you, but it's the love, the one that you stood at the altar and you talked about. So the Dibbles, do y'all want to go first? Just give us some nuggets on
Well, I'm
How
gonna
to
tell you
keep
this right
Google
here.
eyes.
That
yes. You don't like that?
That's a Google eyes
That's a Google eyes question.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Well, I tell you what, this is kind of wild, but it truly happened. I was at church one day, and I think my daughter Cinda was like maybe 6 years old, maybe 6 or 8 years old, and this little boy walk up to her and he say, "Hey, girl, with your pretty self." You know, we all talking and laughing about it. So every now and then I tell my wife, I said, "Hey, girl, with your pretty self." So and she get all blushy about it. You know, I tell her how good she looks. You know, and she be looking good. She be looking good. I tell her that. And I don't be trying to score no points. I be telling her how good she looks, because I always want to be able to be drawn to her. They always say how you get them, you gotta keep on doing that to keep them and all that good stuff. But you know, and she keep herself vibrant. You know, and you know, like right now, I got little, what do you call them things in my hair? Them young girls. I mean, them young kids of mine. They got me in my hair, and you know, got me trying to exercise a little bit. Got me changed up my hair from goat teeth to beard, from beard to cut it all off. So they got me doing different things to keep me vibrant, to keep me fresh, and keep me up to date. What they call up to date. They take me daddy to my granddaddy Curly, which is my daddy. Granddaddy Curly dressed more fly than you, so now I know I got to upgrade my my character.
All
And
right.
I try to keep my weight down. I try to be presentable to her, but I'm telling you, no Google eyes. That is very important. And like she'll tell you, like I told her yesterday, we was down at the fish market, and she was walking across the parking lot, and my eyes was locked on her. Seriously, it was locked on her. It seemed like the radiant of the sun just beamed down on her. And I said, "Yeah, you're mighty good today." And she said, "My thank you, Papa."
And so with those Google eyes, we have to remember that first, when we look in the mirror, we need to see Google eyes ourselves.
Amen.
Okay, so women, when we look in the mirror, we need to see Google eyes ourselves. We need to like what we see. So if we don't like what we see, then how are we going to expect our spouse to like what he sees? Okay, so we have to like what we see, and if it's something that we don't like, then we have to change it up. Like now, I'm going through this phase with my hair. I don't like my hair. I want to cut my hair. My husband loves my hair. We still working on that. But anyway, I have to try to keep it up the best way he can. But like I said, we're working with that. So, and like with your weight, sometimes we don't like our weight. As women, sometimes we just have different things that's going on. So we have to look in the mirror. And when I look in the mirror, I need to see Google eyes, and then that'll help me to make sure I'm looking right before my husband. And that bonnet, take that bonnet off. I have to take that bonnet off, take that hair scarf off, and kind of cute. I had one of the mothers tell me that. Take that bonnet off and take that scarf off when he come to bed. And then after you show your benevolence and you ready to bed,
Right.
not be in the bed with that bonnet on. Take it off. I don't care how they got them dressed up now. And I love African print. And they got these pretty African bonnets. No, take that off.
You're right. In the bedroom and outside.
Right.
Okay. Hey, Darian and the Richardsons, y'all want to talk about the Google eyes?
I don't know if I can stay there. Oh, Jesus Christ. That was just too beautiful what she just said. Oh God, give me a second here.
Okay.
Oh girl, you preaching about that bonnet, boy. Oh God, you preaching about that bonnet. I totally agree with Eric. I mean, he said something here. He said whatever it took to cause the attraction, that's what you should do to keep it there. And I think all of us can agree that's kind of where the Google eyes come from. And people can say what they want. Every connection starts out with what you see. I didn't even know if my wife spoke Spanish or Chinese when I first saw her. I didn't know. I mean, so communicating, I didn't know what I would be able to communicate, but what I saw is what drew me to her. And you build this repertoire of Google eyes and things that cause the Google eyes from that moment on through the relationship. Now what I see is still what I saw then, but there's more to it now. So it could be what I've learned about her, the things that I know because I know, that gets her this way or that way, because I think you all understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Those things, I know what it takes now to just get her into that Google eye moment because I've been with her for 30 years now. So, I know her pretty well now. So, I think the physical part is always a part of that. And Cindy, I think your name is Cindy, right? Yeah. Okay. I want to make sure she's, you can, if you like what you see, more than likely your husband or your wife is going to like what they see. Because that's where it begins. If you're not happy, then with what you see, sometimes we can help you get there because we know more about you and we've learned more about you. And sometimes probably what you see might not be such a big thing to us, but it still should begin with you. If you don't like what you see, then, it's kind of hard for somebody to feel good about you if you don't feel good about yourself. So I would say that the Google eyes, it builds in certain stages. And when you get to, like a stage like where we are, then it turns into different things that will cause them. But God knows we still got them. Don't we still got them? She just did me just now. She just did to me just now. Yeah.
So for me, I mean, I must admit, I was, I guess, going through this phase where I didn't like what I saw in me. So I had to do something to change what I didn't like in me. I saw him staring at me one day, and I was just like, I don't know whether he's staring at me because he's saying she need to do something about herself, or he's staring at me because for other reasons. But I just wanted to, kind of get myself back together first for me to make sure I'm happy with myself.
Right.
And, to make sure that he was still attracted to me.
So that's very important for yourself, and then to keep your attraction. Because I found out some women, you feel like once you get a man, you can do anything you want to do. You won't comb your hair. You won't take a bath. I might be far out there, but there are some people that doesn't do that. Won't cook, won't do nothing, and then you want him to be attracted, and you want him to. But he's still your husband. But make it a little easier. Williams with the Google eyes.
Yeah. You need to go or you want
Go ahead.
So with the Google, I think
Let me hear.
no, with the Google eyes, I think my problem, as she knows, is sometimes I got to let the Google eyes go. I can't be Google eye all the time. I think that I'm still in that 12 years. It's like, man, you got to.
Okay.
You gotta stop.
You always got to tell the focus up.
Yeah, you got to.
It's not you have time all the time.
So I think, for that question for me, it's like I don't have that issue, but when I give it thought, I just again bless the Lord that it's because of the things that are unseen that she's doing to always keep herself up and look good. For me, that I'm so used to it, and I'm like, oh, it's me. I just got googly eyes for her, and it's just the way it is, just the way I'm built. But not realizing that it's really because of how my wife, really maintains and the pride she has in herself on every day. And I just love the fact that, I see her a lot, and I love seeing her get ready to go to work. When she put on, her heels and she has a dress on and stuff, look, pearl earrings. And so I love to see her, like that. But I'm also thankful that that doesn't stop when she goes home. As Miss Albert was saying, some people like, okay, well, once you get home, then all that's, I'll make myself look presentable for the world. But I'm going to give you the worst of me. But I'm going to give the world the best of me. But I think, Lord, that my wife doesn't. She doesn't do that. And so, as good as she looked tonight, that's how she looked when she get up in the morning. And so I don't see those other sides to her. But one thing I have learned though is how those googly eyes, how that has to mature over time. So again, I'm fortunate enough where she looks like the woman I married 12 years ago. Right. So genetically, she hasn't really changed much at all. Physically, weight, looks, she looks the same. Maybe I gave her maybe a gray hair over the year, but it's exactly the same. And so that physical attraction hasn't changed because that's I know what I married. I know who I married. I think the thing with me is the maturity factor is the googly eyes are also for different reasons now. Is because I'm attracted to seeing her as a mother. I'm attracted to seeing her when I'm hearing her on meetings and how she's handling some of these problems and issues and how other people depend on her outside of this home. I love it when I see her do Bible studies with my kids. Yeah, you can get googly eyes with that too. Watching your wife, praise the Lord, give you googly eyes as well. And so even seeing her do that carnal, fleshy googly eyes is still there, but it has matured into something I think that's more spiritual, right? And so whether she may think she's not presentable, in my mind, I got googly eyes because of maybe something that she did for me that she didn't realize she did. Maybe something I watched her do told you. Maybe it was a phone conversation that I watched her have where she was uplifting someone else. And that to me, over time has become just as, attractive as anything else. And I also want to just remark on one more thing that Miss Cindy said earlier, just about, that hair journey. And my wife has always gone on her hair journey. She was natural hair when I met her. And that's something that physically was very attractive to me, was, a woman with natural hair. That was, I just found it very, very attractive. And she has just such naturally beautiful hair. And I remember when going into that corporate world, and this, I give this, this testimony account to other fellas, and when your wife may be struggling with sometimes how they look, and you live in this corporate world that tells a lot of times Black women that their natural beauty is not necessarily appropriate or good enough in a certain corporate world. And so I remember when she was struggling, like, should I straighten my hair? Should I get it straightened? And I'm like, honey, you don't need to do anything. Your hair is your glory. Your hair is beautiful. You are beautiful. It's a part of your brand. It's a part of what makes you stand out from a crowd. You should always be proud of that. And I knew it was my responsibility of a husband to have those conversations with my wife, that I had to uplift her, that her standards of beauty should not come from what other men and women in the world tell her how she looks, but it needs to start with me. And that's my responsibility to make her feel confident as well in herself to the best of my ability.
Right.
The one thing I would add is, that was good. That's good. The one thing I would add is, over time, I have learned a lot about loving him, and not just loving him, but loving him in the way that he actually receives love. I think when you start off in marriage, you love people the way that you receive love. And so I would do things for him that I actually I would want him to do for me, but I would do things for him, like trying to show him I love you and so forth. And over time, he'd be like, hey, look, you ain't even got to do all that. Like, I just want this, right? I just want this. Don't even worry about all that. It's all good. And it actually really helped me, because it helped me focus my efforts, so that if I did want to show him, I see you, I'm attracted to you, I love you, like, I knew how to do that in a way that he would receive it. And that was something that going into marriage, I didn't even know that was, I need to pay attention to that. I need to study him for that. It kind of came over time as our love matured, our relationship matured. And so I think one of the things for me, when I thought about the question of how do I keep googly eyes for him, it's really sometimes, as the woman of the house, in the way that my mind works, like, I just got a lot of things that I'm thinking about, I'm doing, I'm juggling. And for me, how do I keep googly eyes for him is I literally have to stop and say, let's put this on the shelf. Let's put this on the shelf. Like, I'm just here for you. Like, what's going on with you? How was your day? Wow, like, you look really handsome today. Like, you getting it today, and how do I actually do those things that we did when we were just dating, when you do kind of lean over and y'all just driving and you just, touching and rubbing and, holding hands, like, but that takes you to really be present with each other in the moment, which takes some work. So again, I think he's right. Physically, it's all still there, but I have learned over time how to put myself into that mental place to receive and give love in a way that I feel like is much more impactful.
Amen.
Oh, you muted.
You're muted.
You're muted. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Can y'all hear us now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we did.
I'm gonna have to get on my producer. Anyway, y'all been doing some really good nuggets tonight, because that's the whole basis of this broadcast, is to get different people perspective of and aspects in how they look in marriage. I'm just thankful that y'all are willing to share this, and hopefully our audience will take it in, and apply it, because there's no one perfect marriage and there's no one blueprint to marriage. You take a little bit here, you take a little bit from here, and then what you don't need, you throw it back over here. But the principle is that you just have to love each other and focus on each other and not anyone else. You want to say something, sweetie?
No,
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm letting them roll. They roll and I'm going roll.
All right. Well, we're talking about family now. How to maintain a sane life with the spouse and children. And it wasn't a facetious question, but sometimes things can get a little. Somebody take service and put it here, put it there. Sometimes I have to write down my things. I have to write a list down to say what I'm going to do, how it's going to be done, and then I'll just check it off. But we want your perspective on how to maintain a sane life with your spouse and your children. We want Richard to start first on this question. Can y'all hear us? The Richardsons.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't see that first.
That was your time. I'm sorry. Did y'all hear the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
I guess for me, I have to put things in their own little separate compartments to try to keep my sanity, so to speak. Because sometimes it's hard, juggling a lot of things at one time, with children, spouse, church, all those things together. So for me, I just had to kind of prioritize things to try to keep everything going. And sometimes if it doesn't work out too good, I just have to let it go. If it's not something I can handle, I have to decide what I can do and what I can't do.
Yeah, I think that's really key. And prioritizing is what I've come to realize is the most important thing. And this is prioritizing in a very specific way. I made a statement once, and I've got a lot of pushback from it, but I hold to it, and I think it's become the basis of how I maintain. I made the statement that what you love, you commit to. And that's the only way you can commit to anything, is if you love it. Sometimes the problem is people don't know what it is they love. They don't know what to commit to. I am at this point in my life, I'm a firm believer that I am committed to my wife and to my family because I love them. And that causes me to prioritize how I deal with every issue that come up. I mean, we've got 3 children and they're all adults. My baby is 27 years old. Whatever we have to deal with each one of them, as they are young adults and they're independent, we don't deal with them like we deal with them when they were babies, because at that time, because of the love, they were probably up here on the priority list. But now they're probably down here because that's your problem. You deal with it, But as you grow, you learn to figure out what it is you can and cannot do. I mean, we are all human. We thank God for having allowed God to be a part of our marriage, even when we didn't know He was. But still, yet having God a part of us, even you would believe the Spirit at some point in time tells you, hey, let that go. That's not for you to worry about. Let that go. That's not for you to worry about. And this is what allows you to be sane, I think. At least for me, this is what has caused me to be sane. I mean, with our kids being the age they are, my wife has come up the ladder in terms of priority now, because when you had to share your time with them, it wasn't but so much time you could give. Now we give most of our time to each other now. So yes, I think priority is the most important thing in determining how you keep sanity in the midst of juggling wife and children. At least for me, that's what I've realized, knowing what to prioritize with each one of them. And then there are times when she and I, we have to say, we got to let that ride. Ain't no sense in us getting a headache over this, And again, that comes with time together, knowing what her limits are, she understanding what my limits are. And those change over time. When we were at 12 years as Tony and Crystal are, what was what we might have had a limit for then, we don't quite have the same patience when we get older. But then some things have changed. We've got a little
Yes.
more patience
Yes.
now we didn't have when we were, much younger in our marriage. So, yeah, I think priority is so important. It's a broad word, but each couple will have to determine what those things are, what it is that draws that line for you from sane to insane. And you have to decide from your experiences. If it keeps pushing you to that line of insanity, let that thing go because the relationship should mean the most.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So we're gonna let the Williams go next on this question.
Well, we got 3 little ones, y'all. They 3.
I'm praying for
5
you.
and 8.
Oh God.
And we subscribe to this philosophy of you got to put your oxygen mask on first, okay? So we always figure out how do we take time for ourselves to kind of, and I say that, how do I take time for me as a mom, and then how do we take time as us as the real leaders of this house, because they try to be the leaders of this house, so that we have our marriage intact. And you see it's pretty quiet right now because we are on a granny's weekend, which we try to have often, where the kids go and visit my mom for the weekend so that we can actually connect with one another and make sure our unit is strong. I remember when we first had our first child, somebody gave us this book. It was like #1 best-selling book of raising a child. And the first chapter of the book was not about the child. The first chapter was about the marriage. And it was explaining that even when it's a newborn baby, like what they feel like is a safe environment is defined by the parents and the relationship. They don't understand words. They understand faces. They understand intentions. They understand expressions and sounds. And so for us, it was very important that we figured out how do we keep our relationship strong and take that time, like I said, to put our oxygen mask on so then we can be the best parents to them, and also just keep the foundation of our family solid so that, when they are around, they can, we can be good examples of, of what a good relationship looks like. What does love look like? Both of us came from homes that were not your traditional, house where our parents weren't married, 30, 40 years and all of that. And so it was very important to us to be able to model, like we know what it feels like to be a kid in a home where relationships might not be the best. So we wanted to make sure that we provided that for our children too. So I think we've always taken the time to do that. I think I agree with the Richardsons of prioritization is important, of really understanding what is important to you and your family and not committing to stuff that isn't going to go towards your ultimate goal for your family. And I think that might be another thing is what is the ultimate goal of your family? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want for your children? What are the goals for them? What do we want for our marriage and so forth? And so we try to take the time to think through that. So as different activities or opportunities come up, we know when we can say, yeah, no, we can't handle that right now. Maybe later in life when the kids are grown or something like that. But right now, our #1 priority is we trying to, get them to where they need to be as far as academically and emotionally and support them. And we trying to, keep our marriage healthy and fed and so forth, all while, doing the things we do in our careers. So I think that was important. I think the other thing that we do for each other is we kind of actively support one another. We used to do this thing, we called it shake for shirt. And it would be in the morning, we'd be getting dressed for work. And I always like to eat something healthy. He's a big healthy eater. So he would make a shake, like a smoothie for me that would be made out of like, you know, all fruits and vegetables and all of that. And then I would iron his shirt. Now he could iron his own shirt. I could make my own breakfast, but we felt a sense of support for one another as we just took those tasks from one another, and I felt taken care of before I left the house. And he did, and I feel like I could take care of him the same way. So I think we just try to incorporate our love in just active ways so that we can, you know, really think through how can we show each other that we love each other, even though we got all this other stuff going on.
Yeah, no. You know, I agree with that as well. You know, we just, you know, try to keep it all sane as possible, you know, with the kids and everything we got going. And you know, for me, from a male standpoint, you know, the way this world is set up, you know, I have to ask my question of, I probably would be insane without them, right? And so I think they give me sanity a lot of times. When I come back in this house, I re-understand my purpose and what God truly had me here for. At the end of the day, everything else I may have deal with in the work and in life and what people tell me, what the media says, it really centers me and it really does keep me sane. And, you know, by nature, I'm just a very, you know, family oriented person. I like being around my family. I like being around my kids. So they do keep me grounded. They keep me sane. But she's right too. You know, I think when you get married, one thing that you have to understand is, you know what I'm saying, you have to pick each other up and you have to step in because, you know, my wife doesn't necessarily need me to do things. She's self-sufficient. She's a boss in her own world, in her own life. And so for me to have value to her, I got to be able to supplement some things that she may not have time to do. So there's times where, you know, I'm not going to make myself lunch without making her lunch too. Right? Because she may not only be eating lunch because she doesn't have time to make it. She's in meetings all day. And so, you know, those types of things I try to, even when I make breakfast with those shakes, it started when she was in law school and she was taking the bar. And she was just so stressed in the morning, getting ready to go take the bar, that I would make her different protein shakes to help her. You know, so I always want to show her that, hey, I know you don't need me for certain things, but I want to show you that I'll pick you up. And that's what we're there. You know, it's supposed to be the benefit in the marriage as well. You're supposed to have the stuff like, hey, I don't need nobody to do this, but Lord, I'll sure thank you for got someone that can iron my shirt for me when I don't feel like ironing my own shirt and those types of things as well. And I think that, you know, this past year really taught us a lot with, you know, COVID, and we homeschooled our kids for this past year. And we've all been home. Both of us have been home, you know, the entire time for the past year with the kids. And it really, I remember when COVID first happened and we, you know, we got enclosed in here and we were told to quarantine in with the kids. And my wife was just like, oh, I don't know what we're going to do about school. And Lord, some of these people don't do this, they don't do that. And I don't know what to do. And I said, you know what? The goal this year for the family is simple. Keep everybody alive and healthy. I don't care whether they learn their ABC. I don't care about it. I just want, when this is all over, for the five of us to still be alive and healthy. And that was our only goal. And so, you know, for us, sometimes you especially with my wife, you know, I can compartmentalize. I can say, you know what, this is my own, this is what I'm gonna do today. I ain't gonna do no more than this. This is what she's gonna get today. But my wife, she's gonna try to do it all. She wants to be a superwoman and try to do it all. And I remember just having to tell her that, like, honey, don't stress yourself out about with the kids with school and getting them into activities and no. The only goal right now is to make sure that they're healthy after this thing is over. That's the only thing I need both of us to be concerned about in order to keep our sanity. Because sometimes with our wives, they can put so much on their plate, right? And sometimes you got to be able to tell them and say, hey, you don't need to do all that. Let's bring it back a little bit. Let's do, because if not, we need you here. We need you on your best game. We ain't got time to be doing all this extra stuff. And a lot of the times the extra stuff is just the devil being a distraction. The devil works in confusion. And so anytime he can cause confusion in the home, he can cause confusion in the mind. Now he can attack. And so for me as the head of the household, I have to make sure that there's no confusion in the home. Right? And if I can eliminate the confusion and the stress in the home, then we can better serve God on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. So we're gonna have the Dibbles to go next. on how to maintain a safe life, children and spouse, or your spouse and children.
Maintain that sanity with your spouse and
Mhm.
your children. So for us, I know we were married at least 5 years before we had children. And I always tell women that, when you get married, because we got to learn how to be a wife. So if you jump in there with wife and children and all that, then you got all that you got to learn how to do. So it was like 5 years. And then after 5 years, we started our family. I was fortunate enough to, even though I went to college and got a degree, I was fortunate enough to stay home to raise my children. I was a stay-at-home mom. That's how I actually started my business. Being at home, raising my 2 daughters, homeschooling them. And then that's when I went into business and started homeschooling and teaching other people's children. So I was always able to balance everything. Now that they're teenagers, what we do now is I make sure we do activities together as a family, all 4 of us. Sometimes I balance it by doing activities. Me and my husband will do activities together. Like the other night, our church bus has been down, so we went on the bus ride to get the church bus to run in to see, because it's been down for like a whole year. And so I was like, oh, we on a little date night. We on a date night on the church bus. So I took a little video and sent it to some of the people. I was like, look at us. We on the date night on the church bus. And they just thought that was so funny. I said, don't try to be jelly. Don't be jelly. Like, people say, they was like, you know, we on the church bus. I said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just little stuff like that. We ain't got to go out to a big restaurant or nothing. I mean, we can do that. But just something like that just was fun, just for us spending time together. So I balance it and make sure that we're doing activities together. Also, we balance it with sometimes me and the girls, we go out and we do things together. And then sometimes Eric and the girls, they go out and do things together. So we all have what we have this time that we have with each other, and then all together as a family. And make sure that we are supportive of what everyone is doing. Like I have 2 teenage girls. Okay, so one is all into sports. So the other one, we make sure that the one Cinder who's not really into sports, but whatever she's doing, we make sure that she comes along and she's being supportive in what her sister is doing, and vice versa. That's how we balance everything and the family. And sometimes we'll get to the point where, as women and as Christians, sometimes we will put church before our family, and we can't do that. God is not pleased with that. We can't do that. And sometimes we be like, oh, I got to go to church. I got to go do this and I got to go do that. Church starts at home. Okay, so we have to always remember that you have to balance that. So church has a place that it has to be too. And it's not on top of the family. It's not ahead of the family. So that balance is definitely there. You got to be able to balance, or you're going to lose it. You're going to be out of control. Your home is going to be out of control. And, just be able to work together as a family. And like my husband, he likes to eat Chinese food, right? He likes to eat Chinese food. So it don't matter what Chinese restaurant it is, but I don't like to eat Chinese food like that. And I don't eat Chinese food. But because he likes to eat Chinese food, let's take him to eat Chinese food and you just get you some chicken wings and be happy. Don't worry about it. And so we have to that's balance in our life. Take him and get what he likes to eat, if you like it or not.
Right. That's true. Mr. Darryll, you want to add to that?
Well, if a man cannot take care of his house, how can he take care of the church? So yeah, I do agree that our men are the priests to the house. Everything starts at home. And we don't want nothing bad to happen at the house that it show up on the outside. That thing about show and tell, especially with the children. Well, I know we're keeping sanity around this house. Sitting and the girls getting their little quarrel. So I go get lost. I go in the room and close the door like I don't hear what's going on. I don't know. I just go and let them PMS all by themselves. Y'all know what I'm saying. So, but keeping sanity. I let her handle them girls to a point where then I'll come along. I'll stroll to the house. I hear him arguing. I'll stroll to the house like I'm here, then I stroll back to the room. And then she goes, you better get hold of them girls. So I go and have a talk with them, this, that, and the other. So of course she feels them girls got me by the palm of their hand and all. But to keep sanity, I try to rationalize with them because I know as a young man, and I forgot who said it earlier. I think I think Miss Crystal said it earlier about being we didn't come from a traditional home, and that and the other. But I try to hear them out. Of course they feel that we just got into this world. They said, "Daddy, you don't know nothing about that. Whatever you think, they think we don't know anything. Being in the fact we're a whole lot older." But sanity is not too bad, and I agree with our brother Tony when he said that I think I would be sanity. I think I'd be sane with or without them, sanity, yeah. So I do believe that that man that is built by God to be who he is in marriage, he's already that before he said I do. I do believe that. And let me repeat that. A man that's built by God is already sane or already built for marriage before he's married. Because one thing about the sanity part is that some people say that my spouse drive me crazy. Well, why are they driving you crazy? No, you are driving yourself crazy. Because there's a point in life where you gotta elope, go outside and go cut the grass and go do things what you should have done. Then come back and handle business, have a talk, with your spouse in order to get some kind of closure and some kind of understanding about anything that may be going crazy. So, but it's been quite insanity.
Are you insane?
No,
Am I running crazy?
To be continued.
The trivial part about this is that all of you all are really at different stages. I'm looking at you all. I'm looking at a fairly young family, fairly young children, and I think y'all family have teenagers, dibbles. You have teenage girls, and
Yes, sir.
of course, the rich said all of y'all children are up like ours. And I'm just listening to the different aspect of how you have to do things, just to say, really, to not only just to prioritize, but to keep your sanity. Because I'm thinking about the Williams. I said, gosh, I remember our days when you try to do so many different things, and you got children like steps. And well, my wife did a lot of that, prioritizing, kind of keeping things running and going. And then when you start getting to the teenage stage, and they actually think they know more than you do, and you got to prove to them that they don't. And as Brother Richardson said about, once you get the age, you say, you still care, and you still say, you're my child, but at the same token, it is your problem. So I'm listening to that because, believe it or not, and from your stage, from the Williams stage, all the way to the Richardson stages, the parenting part really doesn't change you. Not just as worried about them when they're young as much as you are, when they're up in age, and you still have to keep your sanity concerning your household and your life, even when your children are older. I never thought that I would think about wondering where my children at, even when they go off to church. I would call and say, well, where are y'all? How long before you be home? And because they're still an intricate part of your life, and you have to prioritize and say, listen, those are adults. And you have to learn to treat them as adults. And you need to learn to keep yourself together so that, your life could be as much as peace as possible. Because basically, it's not me right now, because those kids are out there.
That's right.
They're up in age, and It's about me and her really right now. I mean, the parenting part doesn't change, but I'm just listening to everyone maintaining the same life and, the different stages. And it's just amazing that, as you say, you have to turn around, because I asked some of the people that I work with that all of a sudden had to teach their own children. And I'm listening to the Williams talk. And, one I know, she said, I couldn't wait to get out. And then others say, I enjoy teaching my children at home, but it was a lot, because all of a sudden you have to kind of change things to make sure that you're no longer just simply teachers of more than teachers of how to be a good individual. You're actually the teacher in school, the educator. And so I applaud the Williams. As he said, we just need to survive. Because I listen to parents when COVID started, and I know the tough times that they really had trying to be that teacher and having all that dump on them. So I applaud all of y'all. Those kids in school, I applaud.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that and to recap what was said, I just want to tell, and the Darrylls can attest to this, and the Richardson, they won't be little long. I mean, y'all see, you have it together now. I'm not kicking you for that. You have it together, but they won't be little long. And Darryll was saying is about me and him, which it is right about now, but it don't change too much though, unless you really don't care for them, because they're like the old saying, they're in your hands or whatever, and then when they get older, they're on your heart. They really do get on your heart and your nerves. So I mean, just keep your nerves intact. But no, just applauding y'all for the different nuggets or the different aspects that you shared with us tonight about marriage, on how to keep the sanity. And I don't profess that we have this perfect marriage, but I can see that other couples like you all are pretty much thinking the same the same thoughts that we're thinking. When you put God in it, and when you just cherish one another, all those other things will come in place. You can't have her pulling one way and then he's pulling the other way, and then you think you're gonna be this big marvelous couple, and then the children see that stuff. And that's one thing I talk about with the family. Your friends, your co-workers, your maybe might not see what going in the house, but your children see what going in the house. And sometimes they can tell people what going in the house without telling people what going in the house. So if you can love each other, through the same times or the insane times, then truly, it's just like it's almost like a mission when you two get together, so to become one. And then when you put children in the mix, because some people don't have kids, but tonight all of us do have kids. And like Darryll was saying, tonight is like different stages. You got the toddlers, you got the teenagers, and the grown people. All of them still our little people, but it's just a lot to I think if a husband and wife, the thing that I like about marriage is I like for the husband and wife to be a team, to be together. I hate when when a woman thinks that she just have to do her own and just disregard her husband. It just don't work that way. It's almost like a seesaw. One up, one down. If you try to do your own thing, I'd rather for you just get on the swing and you just glide. Last week we was talking about marriage and about a garden. And if you don't cultivate your marriage, who will? If you don't keep your marriage together, who will? I mean, you can't leave it up, and you can't blame it on anybody else, no matter what your mother said, what your best friend said, what your coworker said, or what they're doing. You know what it takes for you and your husband to make it through. And I really enjoyed it tonight. I was sitting there writing some things down. Crystal said, "Love him how the way he wants to be loved." It's just, I mean, I think we knew it, but it's just a different way of saying it. And Miss Dibbles fussing about them bonnets and all them other stuff and taking care of yourself, you know, and it's just something to reassure us that these things, these are things to do. This is not just Aaron Janice talking. You know, Miss Dibbles saying it too. You know, you gotta look nice for your husband. You come home, he come home, you got holes on your clothes and stuff that drip off of there, and then you like, go get them children, you know. It's just different things. And Darryll, you know, and Darren always, you know, you gotta be committed and you love. I really enjoyed it tonight. Just, and I'm actually sitting here right now. Oh, this is real good. Just something to help me meditate on it and let people know that it's just, marriage is beautiful, and it marriage is what you got of it. Marriage is beautiful, and it's what you make out of it. But and you gotta keep that spice in it. You know, you can't wait for them to do. You can't wait for the other one to do something. If they're all waiting on me to do it, and I'm waiting on him, guess what? We'll both just be sitting there waiting. You know, sometimes you guys say, "Well, I'm always doing," but if you keep doing, then maybe he'll get jealous and do it. You know, so I'm happy. I enjoyed it tonight. And did anybody have anything like they wanted to say before we?
Well, I would say that I to Tony and Crystal, well, this is my first time seeing both of these couples on here, but certainly to Tony and Crystal, you are probably the youngest couple here. I truly admire you all. You're doing a lot of the things that many of us probably wish we'd done. So I would be strong to say that you are taking the right path. And I see nothing but blessings for you in your marriage. One great thing I know that Crystal said about the children, and I wish all young couples would understand this, is your ability to communicate to your children is a different language. So I hope that people picked up what she said, and to take the effort to learn that like you did, you're already starting down the right path that many of us had to learn by the bumps in the road. And we realized God had, if I just remembered that, or if I just did that. And truth be told, the younger the child is, the more that language becomes a little confusing to the parents, and they don't quite understand what that, you know, how you communicate to a child. A child can only communicate just a few ways. And that is, you know, safety, love, and sustaining them through food.
Amen.
Yeah.
And you know, you, by taking those efforts to learn that, to any new couple that may be listening, or a young couple, and you have young children, I would encourage you to really, you know, take heed to some of the things, obviously, that all of us have said, but certainly to Tony and Crystal, because they're a younger couple. And I'm proud to hear what I've heard from you guys, and to hear that from a young couple. I'm saying young couple. You guys have 12 years in, so to most people, that's a long time. And I'm sure Eric and Cindy would have, you know, they would concur that you guys have you've probably made some right choices that's a lot of us probably wish we would have made. So my hat goes off to you, and I hope to hear from you again. I even learned some things.
Thank you.
No, I will say I appreciate you all tonight as well, and just giving us those words of wisdom and nuggets. Even just say, hey, keep doing what you're doing, because sometimes you don't know. And you know, and it's just nice to be here, and of course, you know, meeting the Richardsons for the first time, even the Dibbles. You know, Eric's my cousin, so I haven't seen him in a long time, but it's good to see his face, and you know, and I just thank the Lord for you know, the Alberts. You know, you talk about just the communication and the blessings that you have to be with your kids in the home, and they're always looking at you, and how, you know, your coworkers may not know what's going on, but the kids know in this house. But I want you to know now. I want to thank God for you all being such a blessing to me, because you all were a model for me as a family and as a married couple as well. So not only were your kids watching you, I was watching you from outside of your home, sometimes in your home, but with your son, being my best friend and the closest person outside of my home, really to me, that I talk to on a daily basis, and really someone that we have these talks that we're having right now every day, and I learned so much from him, and and he credited you all with everything that he is today, and even him as a father. And I always tell people, I don't know a better man than Kevin Hampton. He's the best man I know. Put him all into your mind. He's the best man I know. And so that's a credit to you all. So I just want to, and part of the reason why I not only agreed to do it, but I wanted to do this was because of who I was doing it for, and the respect I have for you, Deacon Albert, and you, Miss Albert, and just the way you've always just been such a great family, and you've raised really, really good children as well that has such an impact on our lives.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that was just like with Tony as well. I haven't seen Tony in years, and I was trying to figure out. I hate to say that I haven't seen Tony since he was high as his desk, but but yeah, it's been a long time, and truly, kudos to you and your wife Crystal. I've been hearing some fine things about you on this end of this side of the world, down here in South Carolina. It's good to see you as well, man. Y'all doing good. Good to see the Albers. Good to see the Richardsons. Good to see everybody. This is our first time doing this, and I thank God for having us.
I hope y'all have us back. I hope I ain't scaring nobody with the ball. I'm not supposed to us with me, but thank you, Albert.
No.
So much.
You're welcome. But it was needed. It was needed. What you said was needed. And, we're humble tonight.
Very.
And the thing is, the purpose of this is just to share and to help people. It's not about picking one thing or say this and try to get different people that we feel that have beautiful marriages and keeping things intact. And to like Tony and Crystal, not to just single them out, but they are the younger ones, and they are a rarity. Because he said Crystal is a lawyer and he's a professor, a doctor. Most people like that, all they think about is me, myself, and I. I mean, no family, no children, just want to do what they want to do and just stay away with everything. And to me, that was beautiful. That's beautiful. Like Darryll said, some of the things maybe we didn't do, back then people just didn't talk about certain things. I always get my husband. I said we probably get in trouble for copyrights, but we joke about it, and I'll go, "Don't you say that? Don't you say it?" The episode where James said, "The kitchen in the bedroom, the kitchen in the bedroom." It's more to marriage than that, and then it can just be beautiful. I would say with this, you can have your cake and eat it too. Yeah, just make one, sit it there, and then eat the other half, or turn the part where you cut it in half, and the part that's not eaten is beautiful, and then you can eat the other part. That's the way I say it. But we do thank y'all tonight for being on here with us. And before my husband have the last word, we want to shout out to one of our faithful listeners, Mr. Earl and Miss Martha Earl. They're celebrating 58 years of marriage today, and they are always on. They are one of the ones that was saying, "No, y'all can't stop," and they're like 58 years married. They should probably tell us some things, yeah, they will, and they would. Yeah. But I just wanted to put that shout out in there first before I give my husband the last words on the night.
Yeah. And we appreciate each and every couple, because the blessing that you might not know that you are at this moment by saying the things that you're saying and how you're really helping people. Maybe nobody might not ever come up and say, "You know what, I heard you. You really blessed my marriage. You really blessed my life." You might not ever have that idea of someone telling you that, but I'm telling you that you are blessing a lot of couples that you don't know that you are. And so we really want to appreciate you for taking the time out, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your knowledge, for giving the nuggets, because and as my wife said, a lot of times people doesn't share because people really, there's this thing that, that people think that you can't love the way that you can love, prioritize the way you can prioritize, to love the way you can love, and how you're willing to sacrifice to understand the person that you're in a relationship with, to learn how to love them. I tell people this, it's easy to fall in love. It's a different thing altogether to learn how to love. Because that's key to keeping what you fall in love with, is learning how to love the individual. And so we appreciate the fact that you all were willing to take the time out and say, listen, here's some of the things I learned. Yes, whether you're young, whether you've been together or not, it's a learning process, but you can learn how to love and stay together and even have careers, even have children, even work together to forward your relationship in life. Y'all don't know, I really enjoyed it. I was sitting back. I didn't really, after you all started talking, I said, well, maybe let me sit back and listen, because I really enjoy each and every one of you. But tonight, really appreciate it. Can't thank you enough for it. So may God bless each and every one of you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until next time, we don't have our dates up.
Yeah, we don't have our dates out, but okay. Thank you for the sacrifice, because we know that you could have done, but you took out the time just to be here with us, and we really, really appreciate it, and we know that others do as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.